retail traders. This is the Sneaky Snake trading strategy where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And I like to look for chart patterns to squeeze out of. I like to use the moving averages for buy and sell resistance levels, support. And I like to be in the now knowing where the charts are related to where the fat cats are commentarying on the stocks. So we're going to go ahead and do today's watch list. And there's something that's very important I wanted to bring up first, and that's trying to figure out where we are on this here chart. Now, instead of being greedy and buying up here at the top, I think we were at a very extreme level of resistance, especially going into the last 9 weeks of the year, which again, fat cats were forecasting 6 rate cuts, which I think was way out of proportion. Way out of proportion. You know, we might not even see any, but I think they're going to be forced to do it because of an election year. And I think that's what really it boils down to. It's all about politics. Feds have been behind the curve. The fat cats have over forecast and under forecast the market. You've seen it live for the last 3 years since Brandon has been in office. And it's just crazy how everything is going right now. And in my opinion, I think we're way overbought. But the enthusiasm and the momentum behind waiting 2 years, listening to the Fed talking about rates all year long and soft landing and hard landing. I mean, they just won't stop with a hard, soft landing. We had a hard landing already, and that was back when the government shut down the country with COVID. That was a hard landing. And we went into what I call a recession. And none of that's mentioned. None of that's mentioned. None at all. And they redefined what a recession was last year or the year before that. So I'm leery of anything that I hear out of this administration and out of the feds. So I always play the devil's advocate. So we were at extreme greedy levels, and I'll show you why here in a moment. And I think last week alone brought us down to maybe where people were kind of panicking a little bit. But we got earnings coming out. We've got momentum in the market. We got the fat cats that just, I mean, I'll give you a couple good examples in stocks that were over pushed, over pumped by CNBC. And I'm saying, no, don't be taking their calls right here because this is going to fall. These are going to drop next week. And that's exactly what happened. We had a pullback, and I'm going to show you the reasons why I called the pullback, the pullback, and let's get on it. So this is my watch list that I made for 2024, and the indices are right down here. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull up the SPY right now, or the SPX, related to a 3-weekly time frame. And you can see we clearly hit a double top, and that was called way in advance. I said if we hit this double top up here, we're going to have a pullback, and that's exactly what we done. This run that we had and the momentum behind what happened, the Fed came out, said we're not going to raise rates, which I already called 2 weeks in advance, and we went ahead and dropped in away to a good solid support. Well, boom, we had the big bounce that week. Another one. And we reached that double top on the body of this candle. I'm going to draw a trend line all the way across just to show you. $47.82.59, and that's a double top right there on that body of that candle. And that's exactly where we stopped at, right on the body of that candle, right around 47.82. So it's the same thing with the SPY. It was also a double top up here. Let's clean this up. We also had the double top on the SPY, and that was easy to call a reversal. It's a no-brainer. Not too many people were out talking about this double top weekly high, all-time high, which is a double top is a hard resistance. A triple top is a hard resistance. So let's pull this up one more thing. I'm going to show you something else that I didn't pick up on until I was reading Twitter and I seen a couple posts. And this is going to be a yearly candlestick. Let's go 10 years. In the 20 years that I've traded, I've never seen anything like this. And I know as a trader that does chart patterns and candlestick patterns that if you can count to 3, you can trade with me. And we had a triple top on a yearly time frame. Each one of these candles represent a year. So you could tell clearly where the buy support level was, and you can tell clearly where the triple top resistance is. And we did pull back harshly, and not really that much if you look at the charts. So both of them were the same way, same as the SPX. Same exact chart, triple top, we had to pull back. So let's go ahead and bring this to the yearly time frame, or back to the let me see here, 3-year. So we're back to the 3-year. Now we could pull back and hit the 9, but I think and we will bounce right off this wick. So that's one idea if the market decides to go ahead and pull back, that our solid support will be right off that 9 on the top of that wick right there, and a strong buy would be just a little bit below it off the bodies of these candles. Maybe put you a little I'm going to go ahead and draw me a little box off the top of that wick. Maybe right on the top of that box right there on that wick would be a solid support. So basically, we're going into earnings this week. It's Monday. We had the sell-off last week, which is normal for tax reasons, maybe to reposition themselves into a stock, maybe to buy the dip, sell it at the all-time high, get out, and then buy the dip kind of situation. Again, I got to emphasize, if you listen to CNBC and all these hedge fund managers, they got it all wrong last week. The week before, thinking that we were really going to have this big, huge breakout, and then when they were shocked, and they brought in their market makers to say, well, we got it wrong, or some of them say, well, I sold out. They didn't pull them people out until the market started to sell off. And in my new strategy, I'm listening to CNBC because I like to be the devil's advocate of anything that they're pumping. They only pump stocks that are at all-time highs, and they expect them to break out, and Apple was one of them. So we're going to go through that, but I wanted to bring this up to just to kind of show you what a double top can do and what a 3-year high can do. Like I've not seen anything like it in the 20 years that I've traded, and I can prove that to you. We'll go here into the yearly candle. Go back 20 years, and there's nothing in here but maybe this area right down here back when we had the Obama crash. And I call it Obama crash because it was an election year, and that's all they could talk about, how much Wall Street sucked. Every speech was about Wall Street and sharing the wealth. So people got scared, and they blamed it on the real estate bubble, which, it had a lot to do with it. It had a lot to do with Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton. Putting people, putting people in houses with no down payment. And then they all foreclosed and la la la. But this is unusual. This is huge. A lot of volatility with COVID, and a lot of volatility. A lot of volatility. We had a good run into 2021. We had the great pullback of 2022, and then we had the V-shaped recovery back in 2023. So what we need to do is consolidate in this, and then maybe start to break that resistance. I don't know when it's going to come, but I know earnings might be better than anticipated, and then they might not be, because the way the interest rates are, it's cutting a lot of profit out of these companies, and we'll just have to see. But be looking at the banks on Friday. So I had a great game plan this week and I didn't follow through with it. I had puts and I sold them for a short profit where I could have made thousands of dollars. It was a big mistake. And it was my first week without trade ideas. So I'm trying to do something a little bit different. I've had trade ideas for 7 years. So let's get back on the subject and go through my watch list. And we'll start off with Tesla. I'll put this here on the weekly time frame, and we're starting to flag out. We're starting to squeeze. This thing can hold to 21 on the weekly, or it can fall and bounce off the 50 like it has before, and it broke resistance with these three white soldiers right here and just went on up. So we're starting to squeeze. We got a 1, 2, 3, but this is kind of a bull flag, and I'm going to draw that out for you. Now they did get another recall, so that could bring it back down to the 50 and be a very strong buy right around, I'd say right around the 226 area, 227, and I'm going to put a price line in there. It's kind of like a pivot point on the weekly time frame. Somewhere around 226, 228. I want to try an equilibrium in here, and that would be a pivot point area on this chart. So if it stops at the pivot point of the bull flag, fine, that'll be off the 50, and we're going to pull up the yearly. The yearly is on the 50 right now, and we do have a reversal candle with a doji spinning top. So come in Monday with a new week, and we did fall down below this huge gap. We've got a huge gap here. But it is on the 50 right now, and that could be a solid support if you trade to 50 on the SMA. If we go below the 50, then we're going to be bearish, and we could drop down to that 225.70 area. If not, we start to move up. We got to break the 9 and the 21 SMA and the 9 EMA. For right now, we're definitely bearish, and it could run up and hit the 21 and stop, and that's right around 244. The next one is Mara. Bitcoin had a little sell-off here, and we pulled back. We had a humongous run from $7 all the way up to 31. That's a 400% increase. So I'm thinking it's good to pull back 50% on the Fibonacci and maybe take this off this regular peak right here, right around just under $20, right around 20. We did come real close to hitting that last week. We hit 2023 area, and I should have jumped in that trade, and I just didn't pull the trigger. I was calling out $20, and it did not hit my triggered call. Piton got some great news last week with TikTok. We run up and hit the 200 SMA on the yearly. I think we can pull back to support, which is maybe 653 and hold. If not, we'll fall down more and touch the 9 and then run back up. But the news, I think, last week on Piton was real good. It's going to take a while for that news to sink in and get more people interested in this, but I can just see it, TikTok having a lot of fun with it. Apple is the pump on CNBC. I said, no way, this thing's going to pull back. They kept pumping this stock on bad news, and then it got another 2 downgrades in 1 week. And they're just like, oh, now it's Microsoft. They're pumping Microsoft to be the market cap leader. Don't listen to these idiots on CNBC. They don't post enough charts to back up what they're trying to say. They're just going off feelings, and you got to have fundamentals, and you got to be able to, bad news. Okay, Apple banned watch. Oh, it's just 1.2% of whatever it is, and they were writing it off. And I'm saying, this is big news. You've been pumping this Apple Watch for years, and all of a sudden they ban it, and you don't give a shit. So yeah, we're definitely on the 200 right now. This could be a strong buy signal into this coming week. I'd keep a close eye on Apple. I think you could have a possibility of start getting these fat cats back in this trade. It's definitely on the 200. And if you look at the candlestick patterns, each one of these are dojis. Got a spinning top right off the 200. You got a doji. So I think resistance to break would be this top of this here doji right here, right around 182. And if you can build support on it, you'll be able to run this back up to at least 185. But I think it'll hold that. It hasn't held it before. We definitely dipped down below, but that was a different situation in a different time. And it was a good buy signal for one thing. It was a 1, 2, 3, boom. She bounced on up. What I mean by 1, 2, 3, if you can count to 3, you can trade with me. I'm always looking for the triple bottom. And if you look at that, there you are. They don't have to be always horizontal, in my opinion. I read charts a little bit different than some. But to me, that's a 1, 2, 3 buy signal. And that's also a wedge out of a snake. So a falling wedge, 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. If it goes past, if he doesn't break out on the third time and it comes down here for the fourth, I would almost expect a drop on it. But in the 1, 2, 3 pattern, if it doesn't break out on the third time or it doesn't hold the third time down here, and you take the trade, this is the buy signal. There's no doubt in my mind that this is the number one buy signal. And then it breaks out with a 1, 2, 3 and runs on up. So Apple, it could be a buy signal off the 200. Bank of America, keep a good eye on the banks. If we get any kind of pullback, I think we're going to run up. Banks are going to do good. Bank of America, we could probably see 36.41 by the end of the week or sooner. The QQQ, we had a nice little pullback on it. We're bearish right now. We do have a bear flag here on the QQQ. We have a gravestone right here. So this just could have consolidated on that, last week. We just had a bad week. Everything pulled back. 5 days of selling. I think this thing's consolidating and can run up and try to break that 21. So right around $400. It's got to break the 21 because what was support now will become resistance. Nvidia is the big pump. The big pump. This is a huge pump. This is going to definitely break their resistance level. There's no doubt in my mind unless something really happens bad with Nvidia. But they're not going to downgrade this stock. It's had one hellicious run, 140 all the way to 500. I've seen this over and over and over again with stocks that have been overpriced, but they just won't shut up about this stock. This is their number one baby. They're going to bring it and they're going to break it. There's a lot of people invested in Nvidia. So we did pull back to the 50, and it did respect the 50 here last month, and it's going to respect it again. We got a triple top coming up here, and I think we're going to break this triple top if it does bounce up here, or it's going to keep going sideways and squeezing out by the end of the week, and then we'll have a little bit more idea. This is a good daily scalper. If you're trading it and you're scalping it, it pulls back, lands at a support level, you could go ahead and take this trade. We've got an inverse head and shoulders right here. So, anywhere around 479, somewhere in that area would be a spot on trade. 500 is the breaking point on this stock, and if it does start to build support above 500, I'd go long in it to 650 into 2024. Nile got some backlash from BYD, BYDDF. We did break below the support level on this stock. So we're looking at a double bottom here, right around $7-8. There's your first pullback from the breakout, which is one tubus. Or we could be creating what you would call a head and shoulders, where you have the left shoulder, it comes up, retests the right shoulder, and then you create the head, she breaks out, and then she pulls back, retests the shoulder line, and then runs on up. So I'd be a little leery on this and just watch the pattern. Now, if you want to be, you take and draw your trend line right here, draw your snake out, if we want to wait and be patient with this stock, it's kind of hard to see, but it looks to me like we already broke out of it and it failed support level. So the next pattern we have to look at would be an inverse head and shoulders. If it breaks past that trend line of 823 and moves up to the 200, that'll be your hard resistance on the 1 hour time frame. Be a little careful of it. SOFI, a lot of people are stuck in this stock. I called a pullback to 811. We almost nailed that 811. We did nail the top of the resistance level, which is now support right around 816. Let me see here. You put a price line right there and see what that is. This is on the 20-day 1 hour time frame. I do a lot of trades off this here time frame, 1 hour time frame. So we've got a long snake. So let's clean this up and I'll show you how to trade this out of a snake. You want to drive a channel in here. So what happens here is we find that support level, which would be this here low. And if we can respect that low, respect this here resistance level on the 20-day and hold that and start to move up, the resistance we got to break is going to be right here, the previous high of that right there. And we're going to draw a price line across that at 859. That's a little Darvis box to the right. We could go sideways and then break out of the channel of the snake and then pull back and respect that trend line and then run on up to the 200. Be right around 950 area. And that's probably where I'd exit the trade. There's a lot of people stuck in this stock. There's a lot of people calling the pullback just rumor. So let's see what happens. Again, we break out of the channel. We break past the 50. We run up, break out of the channel, and then pull back. Not a continual run, because that would be a pump. You want it to break out and then pull back, gain respect off 859, and then go ahead and run up to the 953 area. And that's SOFI. So just watch it close. It's got to take time to break out of this channel and create some kind of pattern. Rivian, people had high hopes on Rivian. Numbers didn't come out very good on it. We had a little bear flag up here, and she broke down. So I'm not going to be watching Rivian that much. Riot, K-Web. We got to watch China. Now, if they go in and invade Taiwan, this thing can knife. So I'll be either bearish or bullish on them. Google's had a nice little pullback. Pulled back to my 135 support. Right into close. I want to see if this number holds, 135.10. If not, we might drop down to this other Darvis box down here, and we'll draw us a little channel across there. There's your head, there's your left shoulders and your right shoulder, and this is a little Darvis box. So somewhere no lower than 133.80 if this 135 does not hold. Now I'm very bullish on Google. We could see it pull back and then start to bounce up. We had 3 white soldiers right in here. I'd like to see it hold the top of that Darvis box. Baba's at a real good interesting spot. We can still go lower in this thing, back down to 70. I'm really surprised that Baba's taking a beat like this, but it's all about politics in China. I try to stay away from China until these wars are over with and we get Biden out of office. We get Trump in office, these wars will stop and the genocide will stop. We did not have any genocide under Trump. We had genocide under Bill Clinton. We had genocide under Obama. And now we have one under Biden. Rwanda was Clinton's genocide. Syria was Obama's genocide. And the whole world right now is in a genocide with Biden. So we got Citigroup. We'll be watching Citigroup too. All the banks. Now they've had a hellacious run. We called the bottom on the banks, and they've just had a notorious run. They also need to consolidate. We're at extreme levels of greed, but the banks will do well this year because of the high interest rates. PayPal is going to be my long swing this year. We called the bottom down here. We did pull back to the 50. This could be a buy signal. We did pull back to that support level that I'd like to stay in to keep this thing bullish, and it bounced off the 50. Keep a good eye on PayPal. I think she can run back up and find resistance right here, right around the top of that body of that candle, right around 60, and that's where we are. We've already done that. So let's pull this up to the 20-day. Dang, look at that. See, never fails. Bounces off that's Fibonacci support of the huge breakout. And let's go back to the weekly here, or the daily, and show you where we got this at. There was this breakout right here. That's where I fibbed it up. I'm not sure why I did it there. Probably off that shoulder line. I don't know. I have to go back and see. Well, however, it still worked. It did pull back to that support level. So yeah, we've had the little breakout on it. We got to retest that linear channel. We'll go back to the yearly here. That's an upward linear channel when we broke out of it. So we could create a shoulder line and find resistance just a little bit above 62 bucks. PayPal. MU, we got Google in here. JD, XP, Coin. Coin's had a good pullback. It came back right to where it needed to be, right at that breakout point. Did the fibbies on this one too. And we pulled back right to that 38.2% from the top, which is 61.8% from the bottom. Solid support. My alert was triggered. I like to see a 50% pullback on these big breakouts, but we're talking about coin and the way the momentum behind the Bitcoin is right now. They are very bullish on this stock. Did we find a resistance? I don't know. We hit 75 grand before on this thing with nothing going on. So if they pass that ETF, this thing will fly. JP Morgan's one of my best calls of the year. Called this out, this Armani. Right there. I mean, I nailed it. We ran all the way up. I've nailed these banks perfect. Now we're at real hard resistance levels. If you look at the weekly time frame on this, it's a double top. So we're at extreme. I think it's baked in. I think they overbaked in the rate cuts, counting on to be 6. I don't even think we'll get 3 maybe. But if we go into a recession, they'll probably start cutting them. But the numbers that came out this week were good, very disappointing to the Fed. He's just going to have to live with it. That we don't live in 1970 anymore. And quit using that as a bookmark. It's a whole new era. They've been so behind. They've been lagging so behind. Nike could pull back to the 3 here and be a strong buy. So basically, I just went with the ones that I have on volume highs, and we'll just have to see what the market tells us come Monday. If we start to see some more red, I think we're going to consolidate. In fact, look at this right here. We got a nice little head and shoulders, two-headed snake. We got a couple good shoulder lines right here. Let's clean this up on Nike. This is the woke stock. We got a two-headed snake right here with a resistance no higher than that 112. So we've got a sideways box going on with a couple heads down here with a shoulder line, shoulder line, shoulder line, shoulder line. If that touches right around 98.40, I think this will be a good little swing trade up to 112 if you wanted to go long. That, or you try to catch it off this here third support right around 91.39. So that's it. That's a sneaky snake trading strategy. Hope everybody has a great day. I'm going to do some videos about chart patterns. I'm going to do a small little video here in a little bit on beginners traders that don't have a strategy yet, and I'll give you one of my great strategies. It's called the snake, and I'll show you exactly what it is on this thing right here. I'll just give you a sample. So what we got is a downtrend in 2022. We'll draw us in a little channel. So I'm taking this channel right here, and we broke out of the channel. So when you break out of the snake, she likes to pull back. What she did is created an inverse head and shoulders. You got to look for the chart pattern. There's different kind of patterns in this that would told you this would have been a great buy off these three candles. These are three black crows. The three black crows created a head of an inverse head and shoulders. So if you're a swing trader, we'll cancel the right extension. We've got the left head, we got the left shoulder and the right shoulder in the head. So we came down with the snake, we broke out. I never say take the trade once it breaks out. Let it form some kind of pattern. It could be a wedge, it could be a triple bottom, it could be a W pattern, it could be an inverse head and shoulders, along with three black crows. I mean, this is a real nice trade right here. If you can recognize candlestick patterns, and they'll tell you a candlestick pattern on three crows is bearish, but I look at it a lot different than that. I look at it as a flush out. So that 3 week flush out, and then it started to bounce back up. I would have took this trade off these crows and run it up to the top crow and got out of this trade. Once it hit the 200 or the 50, I would have definitely got out of this trade and took my profit. And look, it went from 86 bucks after you had your confirmation of the doji. You got to watch these candlestick patterns right here. We had a tweezer bottom, which is a buy signal, which means the buyers and sellers are definitely, that's a tweezer bottom right there with a doji. And then we got the spinning top, which is above the doji bar, and boom, baby, she took off. So that's all bullish with three black crows. I would have took that trade right here on the tweezer bottom. That's on the weekly. Now if you look at, well, we'll just leave that alone. That's just how it works. You got the snake, you got the breakout, you got the chart pattern, which is three black crows. Take the trade off the tweezer bottom and then run it on up. Three black crows, this one failed a little bit, but still that would have been a good trade because you had a hammer. Three black crows with a hammer. Would I have took that trade there? Probably. Then I'd had to cost average down or something. But that hammer would have been a good sign, shooting star, and run it on up, and then get out of that trade a couple weeks later. But I would have definitely took this tweezer bottom off these three crows here. That's a flush out, and that's what I look for. I look for that pattern. It's a sneaky snake trading strategy where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And always question if you think being in the now, and we're at a 3-year triple top high, and you can tell the greed, and they're not talking about a pullback. Any technical analysis, you would know that a triple top is a sell signal, and that was not mentioned one time on CNBC or anywhere in the chat, any chat rooms. But I called it out. I said, be careful. I got a video. You can go back and watch it. It'll tell you exactly what I was looking for. And the baby, it's called a double top. So you go in here. Go to my library.
Hello, retail trader.
Go back and watch this video right here.
Morning, retail traders.
SPY, SPX double top definition, patterns, and how to trade it. And that's true with any swing trade or any day trade. If I see a double top on a breakout, I'll take my profit because they pull back every time. Then I might add in, or I might just walk away and call it a day. And I'm going to be posting a lot of videos here. I've got a lot of them up right now. Any of my shorter kind of videos are good fun to watch. And I kind of put definitions of what to look for and stuff. This last one I did today, what's it feel like walking away from trade ideas? Was it a good decision or not? What happens when you hit a double top all-time high on SPX and SPY? Did that a day ago. Just wanted to go back and show you what did happen, what will, and the results of what happened. I just kept putting them out. Irrational exuberance, pumping an all-time double top high. Irrational exuberance, CNBC. Earnings season. Got a video what I'm looking forward to this week. Earnings. Really excited about it. I've traded earnings all last year. I learned a lot with how to trade a falling wedge and inverse head and shoulders out of a snake. So there's a lot of good little if you want to go back and watch them, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell. This is Washboardjim, James Howard, and retail traders, where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now.